Welcome to Holy Grit Leadership That Lasts, the podcast for leaders who are done with fluff and hungry for depth. Hey, listen, if you're looking for more than just quick wins and shallow strategies in leadership, you're in the right place. We're talking bold, ethical, and effective leadership fueled by timeless truth from scriptures and built to withstand the pressure of the real world. Okay, now listen. Whether you're leading a church, running a business, managing a team, or just trying to hold your life together on Monday morning, Holy Grit Leadership is here to help you lead with courage, clarity, and conviction. Listen, this isn't your grandma's Bible study, unless she was a total boss. Let's dig in, let's lead well, let's build some leadership that lasts. Okay, it's time. Episode 7. You're listening or watching to Holy Grit.
Hopefully watching.
Yes. If you're looking at these amazing studs, You're in the right place. Holy Grit, Leadership That Lasts, Episode 7. Take a deep breath, everybody. Discovering Judas, how to recognize and deal with toxicity. This is going to be a loaded episode. Yes, we are going to talk about the elephant in the room. We're going to talk about the black mark on your face, the spinach in your teeth, how to recognize and deal with toxicity. First of all, Matt, how you doing today?
I'm doing well.
Doing okay?
Yeah.
Backwards hat on. You're ready to go?
Yeah. I just felt like sometimes I got to be cool and sometimes I got to be school. So today is cool, I guess. Yeah.
And well, why does school have to be the opposite of cool? You know who you're talking to,
yeah,
right?
I know. Like dorky and
okay,
I'm
gotcha.
just saying, like I can be all nice and neat too, but I chose to wear my hat back.
Us pencil pushers will push you right out of the room. I'm going to tell you that right now. So today, if you're listening and you're thinking, all right, I have seen, heard, felt some toxicity in the workplace. Gene and Matt, help me out here.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we're just going to kick this off today with a question.
Yeah.
Are you ready to?
Sure.
Are you ready to take on the first question?
I think so. I hope so.
Okay. So it's real simple, Matt. How can leaders discern between someone who is struggling versus someone who is toxic?
Yeah. Well, this goes back to the last episode. I'm going to start out there. It's a good transition point because we talked about a healthy culture. We talked about guarding the gate, but sometimes the gate is, you miss one. And so somebody on your team is struggling. Maybe they're being toxic towards the rest of the team. And when we talk about toxicity, we're talking about things that create division on the team. So things like gossip, things like name calling, and primarily most of this time it happens behind closed doors. So it's a root of bitterness that grows up on the team. Ooh, and pretty soon what happens is, one person gets a little bit bitter about something. And what happens is they begin to believe the worst about others on their team or the leadership. And so they start chattering behind closed doors. And what happens is that this cancer is birthed, and that cancer grows and cancer kills, right?
Yes.
And it spreads very quickly. And so how do you discern if someone is causing this cancer, or they're really struggling and maybe, a symptom of the pain that they're in is causing division on the team?
Mm-hmm.
You have to know your culture. You have to knowing your culture and developing that culture is knowing your team, spending time building relationships, because the greatest antidote to the gossiping and the backstabbing is just jumping right in the middle of it and saying, okay, I sense something's going on here. What is it? And finding out what's going on in that person's life, let them know that you care.
Yes. And to be honest, I think this one isn't as hard of a throw to hit, a pitch to hit as you think. If you're a leader and someone is very consistent, always just a ball of fire and energy, but they're having an off day and they are yucking it up, in terms of how terrible this person was today, I think it's okay to say, hey, are you okay?
Yeah.
Are you all right? that is someone who is probably, we can recognize someone who is absolutely maybe just struggling for the day
Yeah.
versus the consistent. I think toxicity shows layers of consistency sometimes. And I really like what you said about the way I was picturing it as you were saying this. I was picturing toxicity as someone who was giving a high five, and they were giving a high five to characteristics such as bitterness, jealousy, and anger, and you said a couple more, but I think that when you're looking to see where is the toxicity in our organization, you have to look for that. What is that toxicity giving a high five to? And I think you nailed it with, people that are bitter, people that are jealous, people that are angry, people that maybe didn't get a promotion, people that have a problem with the way that you lead. Is there any other attributes that I'm missing that you think that toxicity really plays into?
The scary thing about toxicity is that sometimes the toxic person goes undetected for long enough that they create a big enough division. So one of the characteristics of someone who's toxic sometimes is that they're great leaders. And what I'm saying by that, not like great leaders in the sense that but they're good leaders. They're just leading in the wrong direction.
Okay.
So they're leading other team, that part of your team, to go in a different direction. This happened to me in around 2020 in our church. We had a praise team, and they were being led by an individual that was, his life was was a lie. It was a fraud. And he was a very good leader. He was leading them away from the leadership of the church.
Yeah.
And there were like 12 people on this praise team. Every single one of them is now gone because he was such a good leader. Like, they were trusting everything he said, and he was leading them away in a bad direction. And they were being led into bitterness, to anger, into mistrust of the leadership. You just see what that toxicity does and how it spreads. And it was the downfall of this entire praise team.
Right.
And it's so dangerous and toxic. But, once that toxicity is there, sometimes the best thing is for the whole thing to go away. And so you can rebuild.
Yes. And then speaking of, just toxicity, it comes in different flavors, right? So every Judas wears a smile sometimes as well. So, where people will look at you and shake your hand and tell you're doing a great job, and then their actions don't mirror what their words, what they just said to you. And so that betrayal often walks in very familiar shoes. Sometimes it's the person that's your assistant. Sometimes it's the person that you trust the most in the organization that is leading you down a pathway that you are just astonished and amazed that, how could this have gotten that far?
Well, that's part of the title of our episode here, is Discovering Judas. Like, we need to find out, like, who is this Judas? And there's some certain things that I really think are important when you talk about finding, making sure that your team is healthy. This is part of it, is guarding the gate when you're hiring. And if you miss one, no, nobody's perfect. But finding out, okay, Lord, would you open my eyes? Discernment. So it's not one of my spiritual gifts, discernment. But I have people on my team now in the hiring process that have the gift of discernment, and they know the questions to ask.
Their instincts start to, raise up when they hear certain things. And absolutely. And that's something that, it's prevalent and everywhere. So I don't care what organization, you're eventually going to have someone or something just leach into your system or organization or even your family, and you're going to recognize this has to be corrected or go. And you and I were having a conversation the other day of our success rate at fixing inherently toxic and negative people. And what would you say that percentage of success rate we talked about is?
Yeah, 0.
Yeah. So, Matt and I, we kind of pound the chest of a little bit of, we really think of each other. I'm like, gosh, as we were talking about the episode, we thought, man, I've worked with the people, but I haven't really turned them around. And that's such a hard concept to, and I'm not saying it can't be done, but I will tell you from, your, 10, 15 plus years of leadership as well as mine, our success rate isn't very high.
Yeah. And we're talking about people we find out are toxic and we give them an opportunity to change and we work with them or they have to go.
Yes.
And I've had some of those where, we've had to give them a performance improvement plan.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's where Jesus washed Judas's feet, right? Not because Judas was good, but because Jesus was good. And as a leader, we don't get into leadership to fire, right? That's not the job. In leadership, you're in the improvement business. So when you recognize and see toxicity, you have to address it. You have to just pour into those people. But it's a lot harder to change someone who doesn't want to be changed.
That's right.
Agree?
I think you have to give them a period of time, which when we've done this, we've done, 3 months. Okay, here's where we need to see you in 3 months. We want to see these markers met. And usually, 100% of the time so far, it hasn't worked out. They've done well for like 2 weeks and then boom.
It's because people, you never hear someone say, I'm a toxic person and I have a problem. You just don't hear that. It's, the reason why I'm so bitter or jealous or angry is because of this. And which kind of leads me to my next question is, why do we hesitate to confront toxicity in either the spiritual workplace or the leadership setting? Why do you think it's just we hesitate?
Well, sometimes it's a lot easier just to kind of sweep things under the rug and pretend they're not there. That's such a dangerous place because you're sweeping bombs under the rug, and pretty soon that floor is going to explode and destroy the house. And so it's easier not to confront. It's just I don't like having to deal with that kind of thing. Nobody does, but I think there's another book I'm going to reference. It's Sticky Teams by Larry Osborne.
So such a good book.
He says, most churches are too quick to hire and too slow to fire. Like there has to be accountability. Just because you're a church organization doesn't mean that you don't hold people accountable.
And it only took us 10 minutes into the episode to say the F word. Fire, right? And so, hey, easy now. Some of you at home, the F word, yes, the other F word is fire. And confronting toxicity isn't betrayal, right? It's stewardship. You have to do this. You have to disciple people through their emotions when they are such a negative impact, because what does a toxic substance do? It gets into other things. Like, what is it? Like a quart of oil can ruin an entire ship's water supply, right? Just a little bit of toxicity can spread and poison the entire culture of an organization.
Right.
And it will, and it does. And so when you don't confront that, then you are neglecting one of the very first things that you sign up for is protecting all the guardrails you have put in place. And so that's kind of some things. Like, what are some lessons that we can learn from how Jesus interacted with Judas? So when we have these toxic people and they're on an improvement plan, and it's, how should we react with them? Like, how did Jesus react around Judas? That's something that I've always been amazed with. Like, obviously Jesus, God, is patient and perfect, but here's a guy that's about ready for 30 pieces of silver to turn him over. And but how did Jesus do?
Jesus knew that Judas would be the betrayer. He knew that he would be indwelt by Satan eventually, and so yet he still loved him. He included him. He served him. Judas had every opportunity to turn from his evil and turn to Christ and follow him, and he didn't do it. And one of those opportunities is recorded in the Gospel of John, in John chapter 12. Jesus is sitting at this table, and Mary comes in, and she pours perfume on his feet and wipes his feet with her hair and tears. A powerful moment. But one of the disciples, Judas Iscariot, who was later to betray him, objected. why wasn't this perfume sold and the money given to the poor? Sounds like a really good thought, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
very rational, right?
yeah,
We can do a lot more things and better.
just because something is rational and seems right doesn't make it so. Because Jesus was going in a different direction. And when we go in the opposite direction of our leadership, in this case, it was Jesus and his disciples. It doesn't matter if you're Peter or Judas, Jesus will bring correction. We have to bring correction. Remember what Jesus said to Peter, Satan, get behind me, when Peter's like, you don't need to go to the cross. And the same thing here. Jesus corrects Judas, and he says, why wasn't this perfume sold and given to the poor? He said it was worth a year's wages. He did not say this because he cared about the poor, but because he was a thief.
Yeah.
A keeper of the money bag. He used to help himself.
Came from a bad place.
Yeah. That's what's going on behind the scenes. We don't often see that, but we can find those things out, and we have to ask the hard questions. Asking the person who's objecting to your leadership in front of others, maybe to cause division, or talking behind you and you find out about it. You have to say, what did you mean by that? And are we going to talk about this?
And so this is perfect, because I wrote this down. Not every critic is toxic, but every toxic person is eventually a critic.
Yep.
So when you're getting criticism from people in your organization, you have to have some good discernment as to where this is coming from.
Yeah.
Where their heart is. I like what you said there, because I've heard a lot of people say, when someone says something passive aggressive to you, great leaders will pause and look at the person and say, can you say that again?
Yep.
And you'll notice someone who is toxic squirm in these events, right? Could you repeat yourself? And what did you mean by that?
Yeah.
You know, when you said, well, if only we had someone who can motivate someone, and you can pause as a leader and say, well, what did you mean by that? And so when you see and feel toxicity, it's best, I believe, to handle it right in the moment. When it's happening, if it's in a one-on-one setting, I mean, if you're in a group setting, then it's okay to, kind of wait and criticize in private. But when you see it and hear it, sometimes it's best to see someone's heart by allowing them to either clarify or justify. So those,
I like that. I've never heard that approach. That's really good.
Yeah. So a lot of times, I'll be saying something that might be hard to digest, and someone's initial reaction is not to listen to understand. It's listen to critique and just be upset. And so I tend to follow along, and I'm blanking on the name of who taught me this, but it's basically how leaders react. And so how leaders react to toxicity is with calmness, with poise, and with patience. And you can say something, if you said something to the effect of, well, our organization doesn't do good things because we're pretty cheap. And then I can say something to the effect of, can you elaborate on how we're cheap?
Yeah.
And if someone says, oh, no, I meant that in a good way and everything, and I meant that means like we're conservative with our money, and I say, well, did you mean to purposely, say that to get a jab at someone in this room? No. And you'll see them start to backpedal, right? And so that's a way that leaders can, through questioning, bring to light this toxicity that's in the room. And so, and not that this happens often, but that is something that I have practiced, is when you encounter toxicity, ask questions.
Yeah. And in doing so, you're also protecting the other staff members, because this person, if they're attacking you, they're going to attack other people too. Then that's why Jesus said to Judas, leave her alone. Yeah, that's exactly, leave her alone. And we have to protect our staff, because toxicity, it destroys. Yeah.
Matt, I have a question I didn't put on the list, so I'm going to put you on the spot here, because you just made me think of it. In organizations where someone's been there, done that, has been done it for years and years and years, and someone new has an exciting idea and it's automatically shut down by someone who's been there because we tried that before, it didn't work. Would you consider that a toxic employee? This is a hard question.
Yeah.
Someone who just says things to the effect of, that'll never work. We've tried that before.
I don't know that it would be toxic. Maybe it's just someone who's been there a long time and has worked really hard and has done a pretty good job. If they've been there a long time, like there's somebody you've kept around. I don't know that that's toxic, but it's certainly something to confront, and it certainly can be toxic. One of our principles in New Hope is we always say we want to let the young eagles fly. So the reason for that is that they're never going to learn to fly unless you let them spread their wings. And if the old eagles are doing all the flying and they're leading all the committees and they're leading all the boards, like there's never going to be any new leadership. It's always going to stay the same. And so it's important that we let the young eagles fly. And so yes, that can be toxic, and it's actually something that kills churches. Churches that grow old and never change will die because nobody wants to go to a church that's stuck in a tradition. Tradition is something Jesus confronted in the Pharisees and the Sadducees. It's about faith in Jesus and Orthodox faith, all of that, yes, but tradition kills.
And so what we call it, let your excitement fly. So when we have staff come to us with an idea, as long as it's not going to wreck the whole, foundation of what we do, we tend to get to say yes a lot to excitement and to passion. And sometimes there's some things that come out of that that's such a positive. Oh man, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. We better go back to this. But that's something that I always challenge organizations is to, when excitement enters the room, don't be the first one to close the door.
That's really good.
Yeah, because we want to leave that door open for that excitement, because excitement breeds excitement, which breeds into people jumping on a team, and which then develops trust and credibility. Now, if you're really excited about a really stupid idea, that is a completely different podcast. But at some point, it's okay. And that's why we have Let's Poke Holes time and our excited idea. I said that in our previous podcast, but that's part of our norm is when we're excited about something, we have a Poke Holes time to where you get to defend your excitement and it's fun. But that's just something I want people to think about. I agree with you. It's not necessarily toxicity, but it also is something that can kill passion right away.
Yeah, and I think one of the main characteristics of toxicity is negativity.
Yeah.
I mean, if that person is someone who's negative about every idea and negative about, like, they're going to last long in my organization and not yours either. I think negativity is something that is definitely stuck with toxicity. It has to be.
So then the next question really is, how do you protect your heart from becoming jaded after betrayal? So toxicity is some form of betrayal, right? So it's some form of, hey, I did something and now you know it. How do you protect your heart from that? Just becoming like, I'm done with you. I never want to speak to you again.
Well, I would even say, we were talking earlier about the fire thing, and that's not a pleasant situation for anyone to be in on the giving or the receiving of it. And so someone who's toxic is someone who really needs Jesus. They need hope. And so looking beyond the symptoms of their pain and their woundedness and their lashing out or causing division, this is so important. It is easy to become jaded. There are things that I now am very cautious about because of some situations that I've been involved in. Like, it's harder for me to trust. And I think as a leader, that's healthy in some ways. We trust, but we also verify. We don't just say blindly, yes, this is the greatest person in the world. I think over time, we're going to see, is this person bearing the fruit of the Spirit? Are they really a team player? And not getting so like jaded or overly confident that everyone is wonderful or that everyone is bad. I think we have to trust and verify.
Well, and think of it this way. You can forgive someone and still remove them from your inner circle.
Absolutely.
Right? I forgive you, but I also am going to approach you with a little bit of understanding that you are not in my inner circle anymore.
Right.
There's a lot of things that, I have done that I trust that, in you, and I confide in you when I say you're in my inner circle. But if you were to breach that trust, right, I might be a lot more hesitant to come to you and confide in you. Some of the inner guts of what's going on.
In Titus 3:10, it says, warn a divisive person once, then warn them a second time. After that, have nothing to do with them.
Wipe the dust, huh?
Yeah,
right off the feet.
And so that is not in the sense that you're hating the person. It's turning them over so that they can be corrected by their own consequences of their sin.
Yeah.
And it's a hard thing to do, and I've had to do that on a couple of occasions. And again, it has to be God working that out in their lives. I'm not God, but all I can do is hold them to account. And you, as a leader, that's what we do as leaders. We have a different mantle than an employee. God has given us responsibility over other people, and managing that situation is not healthy when we let toxicity just continue to grow, because it causes division in everyone else's life too, and the whole staff.
Yes.
And causes problems at home. Like, I want to give just a good example of this. I've talked before about this worship pastor I had to fire my first day as the lead pastor. And the guy who was my predecessor, who was an awesome man of God, he'll even tell you this. So if he's watching this, he will know. He will say, I should have fired him a year ago. And he didn't. And guess what that did? It caused toxicity in this huge praise team.
Yes.
It also caused toxicity in the church at large. We ended up losing 15, 16 people from that. And I mean, that's not a lot.
Because they create their own inner circle.
Yeah. That was causing division between my wife and I.
Yeah.
It was that bad. And so toxicity is something that spreads quickly. And as leaders, we're protecting our staff and our staff families from that kind of negativity.
Yes, that's such a good point. You cannot stop toxicity at the door that you work at. It will follow you everywhere.
Follow you home.
And like you said, it'll follow you home. It'll follow you into your conversations.
Yeah.
It'll follow you into your time with God. It'll follow you into your time with your children. And I've noticed this is when I have a toxic situation happening, and my kids are excited to see me, and they're talking to me about their day. I am short. I can't concentrate on what they're saying.
Yeah.
And so that makes me a worse everything, a worse dad, a worse leader, a worse husband. And so that's something that we all need to understand, is that there's a reason why it feels like betrayal, because it is.
It is.
It absolutely is. When someone is purposely saying something to harm your decisions, making your reputation, what you're trying to do, and they're not saying it in a productive, helpful manner to your face, that's betrayal. I don't care what you say that is betrayal of your organization. And then you have to develop a little bit of cojones or courage as a leader to say, okay, it's time. We need to have the conversation. There needs to be a cease and desist. There needs to be a hard stop on this.
Okay, so let's talk about that. When you find out, let's say, Gene, you find out somebody in your world is gossiping behind closed doors and created some division, what's your first step? What's your second step?
Sure. So always the first step is to get them in a room one-on-one. And then you structure what I call our hard conversation structure. You tell them the exact reason why you're here. Thank you for your time, for coming in. Today, I want to bring to light all of the ways that you have been a negative impact on this organization with others and now with me. And what I want from this conversation, and then you kind of, you put hope into them. What I want is a good understanding as to why you're saying these things, so we can come to an agreement of resolution. So that way, when we both leave here, it's done, it's over with. But I'm not flowering it up. I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm saying the words and emotions that is being felt, not just by me, but by everyone.
Yeah.
You're making people feel uncomfortable. You are doing, and I know it's a lot of you words, right? The way that you are speaking to others is unacceptable. And here's the reason why. And those are so difficult, especially because sometimes these people that are displaying toxicity are your closest confidants.
That's the crazy thing, isn't it?
Yes.
Like this one that I talk about, something like, I love him. I genuinely, to this day, there's parts of this guy, like I miss him. And he was a great person, but it was toxic.
Yes.
It wasn't real on his side. It was a fraud. And that's time has fleshed that out. It's very sad. And I think, like you said, it's sometimes someone that you don't think would ever do that. And that, is probably really an episode we should consider, is like, how do you, determine your inner circle? How many friends can you have in the leader spot? Like, it's hard.
It is.
And so you have to really make sure that the people you're confiding in are people that you really do trust.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's such a difficult concept to be able to say to someone as a leader, you're doing something wrong and it's impacting others, because it's a fight or flight mechanism. When you're having that conversation, I'm either going to fight my way out of this or I'm just going to leave. And that is kind of what it is in a lot of elements. But one of the main things that I want to encourage you as leaders, when if you're experiencing toxicity anywhere, is to sit down, be direct, and explain how you can come to a resolution. A lot of it's just never do this again.
Yeah. And sadly, if it's someone who's truly toxic, it really is a miracle of God for that to turn around.
And here's something that so as Christians, that I see that toxic people do all the time. They weaponize what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go against you. Well, I thought that you're trying to instill hope. And I don't feel very hopeful. For us, it's, I thought we're all trying to build a culture of confidence, and this isn't making me be very confident. And they try to weaponize what you're trying to do with your passion and purpose against you. And that's where I see toxicity come out the most regular. Is I'll have an upset, maybe staff member come through, or even a parent, and they'll weaponize what we try to do against just to win their own situation, as opposed to looking at it as, a big picture and understanding. I've actually gotten this direct quote: "I thought you were supposed to be a Christian.
Oh man,
how dare you?" And so, by just making a decision and then using my Christianity against, me, it's basically saying you're a bad Christian. I'm like, well, that's kind of the point of Christianity, is we're all flawed, and that's why I need Jesus. Not that we're perfect. And so, but it's really, really interesting, the levels and layers of toxicity that people can display.
And here's the other thing I think we need to make sure that we say about this whole episode. Is not everybody who disagrees with you is toxic. If you're going to start calling everyone on your staff who has a critique or something different to say, you need people on your staff to challenge you.
Absolutely.
And so we got to make sure that we're not calling everybody toxic. And you just because someone disagrees with you doesn't mean they're, a bad person. We have to, the difference is the tone, the attitude, the backstabbing, that kind of stuff.
It's where their heart is. Right? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from a good place or a selfish place?
Sure.
Is it coming from, I really want to know and I care about improving? Or is it coming from, I really can't wait to get one on you?
Right. Yeah. That's, we just have to be careful with that, because it could be easy and tempting for a leader who has a lot of influence to say, this is a toxic person because they disagree with this idea.
Yeah. And
So,
and I know you have written down, like, no one wants to be a part of a divided team, right?
yeah,
That's not anyone's goal when you walk into an organization. It's like, can't wait to be on this side, team this and not team that.
yeah,
And that's such an important point, because one bad battery can drain the whole device,
yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
understanding that a single person can sap the energy, the morale, the productivity of an entire team. It's like a malfunctioning part in a car.
Yeah.
It may seem small, but everyone feels it. I don't know if you know your truck well enough, but the moment there's something small going on, you just know
You know it.
there's
Yeah.
something wrong.
Yeah.
And it's the same in leadership. When you can feel toxicity, it's just having the courage to address it.
All right. Some of the things that we deal with in a church culture, and toxicity is not somebody on your staff. And
Yeah.
somebody that's coming to church, maybe a wolf in sheep's clothing. They've been sent there to sow seeds of discord and division. And so as leaders, if I'm speaking to pastors and elders right now, as we have to be on our guard. That's one of the main roles as an elder, as a pastor, is to protect the flock. And usually a divided team is a very wounded team.
Yes.
And so we have to make sure that we don't allow the wolves to come in and lay ravage to our flock. We have to be careful.
So, Matt, last question. Can a person change? Can a toxic person change? And what role, if any, should a leader play in that transformation?
Oh, man.
Because we know that Jesus can change and do all of those things, right?
Yeah,
But
obviously
can it
the
change?
answer is yes, absolutely, with the help of God. I can't be that agent of change.
Yeah.
It's like we try, and I think we have to give our best effort. That's
Yeah.
what we do. What I call them our PIPs, or PIPs, performance improvement
Yes.
plans.
Yep.
And so we say, here's what you need to do, and we want to help you. We want to reconcile you. We want you to be the best member of this team that you can be. But if you can't do that, we have to let you go.
Yes.
And so we have to try. We have to help them. And so the answer is yes. And the answer is, the way that I fleshed it out is like, I haven't had an experience where it's worked. And so I think we just have to do our best and put it into God's hands and pray for that. And so let's just speak to someone who maybe this is like stirring something like, am I a toxic person on my team? Well, I think that right there, if you're asking yourself that question, says that you're not toxic. Is you care.
Yeah.
You really want to do the right thing. You're humble. And that's one of the fruits of the fruit of the Spirit, right? Humble.
Yes.
And so you're like, yeah, I need to examine my life to make sure I'm not that toxic person on my team. And so I think humility has to be the biggest marker of that. But also as a leader, we need to ask that God would give us discernment. Yes. To recognize the Judas with a smile, because the Judas with a smile is so dangerous for our teams.
And I'm just gonna say it courageously. Sometimes you have to fire to forge. Just as metals refined by working to improve impurities, healthy teams grow stronger when healthy and strong leadership takes control of toxicity. And so understand that might mean removing someone from your organization, from your inner circle, from your team.
I know it's probably, we're running a little bit long here, but I think it's so important.
Yeah.
I think when you cut off bad limbs on a tree, or you cut off bad fruit, Jesus uses this illustration. Yeah. Right? It prunes so that there can be new growth, so that there is health. You cut off the bad stuff so that it's healthy.
Yes.
And it grows. And one of the best feelings, even though it's so hard in the moment, is you look back at the bad fruit that we had and some of the bad branches that we had, and they were pruned. And now God has grown and expanded, and it's beautiful and it's wonderful. The peace of God that's in the health is so good. And
Oh, I
that's what
love
people
that.
want to be
Yeah.
a part of.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, just like a forest fire
Yeah.
leads to more lush ground, right?
Yes.
And then it happens. And when you're in it, it sucks. When you're in it, it's not a good feeling. That's
Yep.
when you're losing sleep. That's when I'm coming to you saying, I'm
Yep.
struggling, my friend. And as leaders, guys, you don't have to deal with toxicity alone. Have an inner circle.
Yep.
Go to people that you trust, and you're going to need to talk to people about this, because one, you'll get great ideas. You'll get a perspective, right? Because sometimes when we're in that realm of, oh my gosh, you need perspective settled on you, and it's usually not from your own mental process. And you need someone else that can see a little bit from outside and say, you're fine. But also maybe you might need to get rid of that person.
Well, and to give you a 30,000-foot view, you can't really see things when you're right up in close and personal. It's hard. Like I can't tell you if that water bottle's right up to my eyes. I can't say, oh, this is for sure a water bottle. It's a piece of plastic.
Yeah.
But I zoom out, I can see, oh, that's a water bottle.
That's water.
And a friend will help you to zoom out and say, here's what you've got going.
Yes. And so, this has been one of my favorite episodes because it's hard to talk about, but it's a realization. You can't be a leader without experiencing this toxicity at some point in your leadership journey.
I'm sorry. I keep having a lot of things to say.
I love it. Keep going. Yeah. Keep cooking, Matt.
This is one of the hardest things a leader will go through, but it's one of the most important things that a leader will go through, because it shows you that God is faithful and you can trust him when you do it his way. That's what Jesus did. He cut out things that didn't belong, and then it grew. And that's what we have to do as leaders, is we have to follow the Lord in these things, and God will take care of us. He'll show us the way, and it teaches us to trust him. Yeah.
Well, that is the best well said that I think that we can leave you with is when this happens, to trust him, then trust your inner circle, pray, and then be brave.
Yeah.
Be courageous.
Make it happen.
Yeah. Make it happen. So remember, not every handshake means loyalty. So just like Judas shared meals while hiding motives, toxic employees or team members can perform well on the surface while quietly undermining the culture. So it's crucial to pay attention to patterns, not just appearance. So as you're going about your week, the next couple weeks, pay attention to patterns, but then be hopeful. Talk to someone, definitely talk to God.
Yeah.
Understand that even Jesus had betrayal and toxicity in his group. I mean, he knew about it the whole time. We might not.
Yeah.
But we hope you enjoyed episode 7, Discovering Judas, and how you can recognize and deal with toxicity. We hope you have a great day.
God bless.
God bless, everybody. See ya. Bye. Hey, thanks for listening to our podcast today. If you would like, please subscribe, rate, review, give us all the butterflies you can. We appreciate you. Thank you, and God bless.